After staffing, one of the major items in a school's expenditure is energy. But energy prices have increased rapidly in recent years. Here at Cooper School in Chislehurst, the cost of oil, gas and electricity has doubled in the last 3 years.
Claire Dix is a procurement expert for the DCSF and helps schools find ways of saving money. Can she help Cooper School cut its energy bills?
And of course, any efficiencies in energy use will help not just the budget, but also the school's carbon footprint. Despite the sprinkling of snow today, we're in the era of global warming, and schools have a responsibility to address the green agenda.
Sue Weiler, the business manager at Cooper School, shows us round. The school is built around a 19th century mansion building, which was originally a girls' boarding school.
So how much are you spending on energy?
We spend between £90,000 to £100,000 a year on gas, electricity and oil.
OK, and how many pupils do you have at the school?
1,652 from ages 11 to 18.
So Claire, bearing in mind the number of pupils, do you think the energy bill is high, average, low?
Yes, it does look rather higher than I would expect.
Why do you think, Sue, that the bills are a bit steep here?
I think probably it's due to our wide variety of buildings. We have this old house, if you've seen. We've got newer buildings with independent heating systems. The site stretches a long way up to the top, where again we've got a lot of separate buildings, and it's very, very complicated to heat all the buildings, and I think we waste an awful lot of energy.
And there are different heating systems using oil, gas and electricity for the different buildings.
This is our boiler house, which heats the lower site.
It looks quite kind of rusty and old.
It's very rusty and it's very old.
What do these boilers heat?
These boilers heat our old house, which you've seen. It's on a flow and return system. So the pipes go up into the old house, heat that, they then come back down. The pipes travel underground and they then heat another 4 buildings on the site, independent buildings. And it's very inefficient.
Equally ancient oil-fired boilers heat most of the buildings on the top site.
They are in a very, very bad state as well. And it's a case of we're lucky they're running today, tomorrow they might not.
Sue's trying hard to make money where she can. She rents out the school hall on Saturdays to the Italia Conti Stage School. But energy issues mean it's not as profitable a venture as it could be.
The problem of renting out this hall is that it means, because we can't zone any of our classrooms or areas, we have to heat the whole of the upper site. So we are in effect, for one Saturday letting, heating 2 floors.
How do you purchase your energy?
Well, we purchase our oil directly from Esso. We actually buy our electricity through the local authority, and we purchase gas through an energy supply company. It's a broker in effect. We went to the broker because energy, as you can imagine, these days is a minefield. You never know what the good deal is. So we went to the broker, and the deal is that the saving that we actually make, we split 50-50.
And are you pleased that you've signed with a broker?
Retrospectively, I'm not too sure I'd do it again because I always hate having to part with my savings. So although I've saved a certain sum of money, 50% of that saving I've got to pass on to somebody else.
So what do you think, Claire? I mean, obviously it is a worry for schools. How do you find the best deal? But would you recommend brokers?
It's really not something that I necessarily recommend for the same reasons that Sue's just indicated, really. You know, the school wants to benefit from any savings that are there.
Oh, wow. What do you think, Claire? What are your first thoughts?
Well, I think there's 3 things, really. The first one being looking at the tariffs that the school's obviously paying for their electricity, gas and oil. Secondly, we need to look at the boilers, see if there's something we can do there to help them with some guidance in that area. And thirdly, there must be something we can do with regard to using their energy much more efficiently.
We've really got our work cut out on this one. But before we get into that, here's our cautionary tale.
When a man with a van arrived at a secondary school offering a brand new carpet at a knockdown price with free fitting thrown in, the entrepreneurial bursar thought she could save money and spruce up the staff room in one fell swoop. The carpet was laid and the man with the van took the cash. But the problems soon started. The carpet had been stuck on top of the existing carpet tiles, so the door wouldn't shut properly. And when the cleaners hoovered, the suction proved stronger than the adhesive, and the carpet came away from the floor. The entire carpet had to be thrown away, a new one purchased and properly fitted. If you buy at the door, you get what you pay for.
Its inefficient heating systems aside, Cooper's School, like any school, can cut costs and help the environment with a number of energy-saving ideas. So we arranged a visit from Tom Cumberledge of the Carbon Trust.
The Carbon Trust works with organisations to help cut energy bills and carbon emissions.
Tom, what would you recommend to Sue in an area like this?
Well, here we have a really exciting key opportunity. There's plenty of natural daylight coming in, and yet, if you see, we have the lights blaring full blast, so really make sure that you're only lighting the areas that are necessarily to be lit.
I think I'd always been under this myth that if you turn lights on and off, you A, can use more energy, and B, you can shorten the length of the starter motor, so you've got added expenditure from a different angle. No?
Yeah. That's a prime common myth
Okay.
with fluorescent lights. Always switch off your lights when it's not necessary, as long as
Okay.
it's safe to do so. And of course, another opportunity is in heating areas like this. We really need to start thinking about which areas of the school need to be heated and which areas are going to be occupied. So here we are in the corridor, and the heating is on full blast. So although at the moment I can see you don't have any zoning temperature controls, but it certainly should be something you're considering in the future.
Okay, so this is one of our humanities classrooms. As you can see, the lights are on.
I was going to say empty classroom, and yet the lights are on again. So if you're educating people about switching off the lights, you can save up to 15% on your lighting bill.
Well, the problem we have, of course, is the students coming in and out and then remembering or not remembering to turn lights on and off. I'm not sure how practical that might be.
You can always reiterate the messages in whatever means you can, through lessons, through engaging them with awareness campaigns. But if you're after another further technical solution, you could consider putting in a light sensor in this room.
Right.
And that has a typical savings per classroom of £20 every year.
And what about heating in classrooms?
As a guideline, every time you turn up your temperature by just 1 degree, you can expect to be paying 8% more on your energy bills.
And next, to the Cooper's Learning and Information Centre, commonly known as CLIC.
The most important thing that strikes me as we walk into this room is all of the monitors are still on standby. The PCs are still wearing away, and so that's energy being lost, and energy that you're still paying for. On an average PC, you're looking at, if it's being left on standby in the evenings, at the weekends, and at half-term and a holiday period, you're looking at an average saving of £20 to £30 per PC.
When Claire looked at the Carbon Trust figures, she calculated that implementing their recommendations could save the school 10% on its energy bills.
For energy tariffs, Claire researched local consortia prices.
A local consortium is a buying organisation usually set up by a group of local authorities. Because consortia buy in bulk, the prices are normally far less than an individual school could negotiate. By taking this route, Sue could save over 6% on her gas and oil bills.
But then the problem of the boilers. Sue knows they're old and inefficient, but has she thought of replacing them?
We consider replacing them almost on a daily basis, but it is pretty impossible. We're given a capital grant from the government through the DFES every year, totals about £168,000. But because of the buildings and the state of our roofs, in the past 2, if not 3, if not 4 years, especially with the old house, we have spent most of that capital grant on refurbishing roofs. We don't have then enough capital grant left for things like boilers.
It's worth Sue contacting the local authority to see if it can help with additional funding. If not, Claire thinks she's found a solution which, in the long run, could save a lot of money.
Modernising the heating system would also mean that the temperature in each part of the school could be separately controlled. Sue wouldn't have to heat half the site for the Saturday Drama School.
Well, before we find out what Sue thinks, here's our top tip.
The National Audit Office found that schools can save up to £42 on each transaction when purchasing goods using an e-procurement system. Rather than flicking through paper catalogues or approaching unknown suppliers, using e-procurement, schools can purchase their goods from verified sources, assured they're getting best value. The transactions can then be automatically uploaded to the school's financial management system. For the last 18 months, Stanton St Quintin Primary School in Wiltshire has been using e-procurement for their purchases.
Before the e-procurement system arrived here in the school, I think we had a very ad hoc system for purchasing. It was scrappy bits of paper which would arrive on my desk. There was no testing of the market, there was no best value seeking or negotiating on price. It was very time consuming and just inefficient.
An additional benefit is that schools can get better prices if they collaborate with other schools on bulk purchases.
I purchased a computer system for my admin office. I received a good price using our portal, and 2 other schools came in with me and we were able to get a better price. My original supplier had quoted £1,400 and like for like I negotiated down to £900.
Stanton St Quintin School has been using a local e-procurement system, but there are others out there. For details of the rollout of a national e-procurement system, go to the Teachers TV website. We're back at Cooper's School to tell Sue about the savings she can make on her energy costs.
So Sue, you've had the Carbon Trust round, picked up some energy saving tips, and they will not only give you green brownie points, but you could save as much as £10,000 if you implement their ideas. So what did you think of what they had to say?
I think everything that they brought up is certainly worth a bit of research and having a look to see what we can do.
On top of that, Claire's got some good news about the prices you're paying on your oil and gas.
I know you're not really been sure about where you can find these deals, but our advice is always to try and look at your buying consortia anyway, because they're in a really strong position. They represent thousands of institutions, so they get much better leverage on these types of contracts. So that's why it's always worth trying them first.
Right, okay.
And we've talked to your local consortium, and if you were using their contracts for gas and oil, you could save in the region of £5,000 a year.
Well, that is good news.
Now, if you take on board the energy saving tips that you were given by the Carbon Trust, and also the savings you could make on your utilities, oil and gas, then you stand to save quite an impressive sum of £15,000.
Oh, wow. That is quite an amazing figure, actually, for just that, those costs, isn't it, really?
And of course, you were very concerned on our last visit about the boilers, which are extremely inefficient. Claire, what can you advise?
Well, really, we know it's a huge amount for any school to pay for boilers of this nature. So there's a number of ways you can actually finance that. You can actually lease boilers. There are things such as an operational lease or a financial lease, so you would have to clarify which one you could use. And if we identify enough savings, there's enough money there to offset any payments that you might have to make. But it's for the longer term good of the school.
I think you're right. It's important that we actually do sit down and formulate this plan and go with it, now that we've identified what we need to do and what we can do. So, sounds good advice, thank you.
Once you've got to the point where you have paid off a loan to buy new boilers, the savings will be really massive, at least double that figure. You're looking at £30,000 or more. What does that kind of figure mean to the school?
£30,000, quite a simple answer, a member of staff. I mean, that's a really worthwhile saving, one we can't ignore.